Hello everyone, my name is Christian. Welcome to my hobby blog. Today we are doing the third review of the Vinegar Syndrome series of the subscription reviews. I don't really know what to call it, but we're doing the third review of the January 2022 package. And today we are going to be talking about the box set, the Forgotten Gialli Volume 4. This, I think, is my favorite Forgotten Gialli box set. Most of these movies were awesome, and I've already done the unboxing, but again, Vinegar Syndrome has the best design, in my opinion, when it comes to the box sets. It comes out like this. It has all three films here. So I've already read what these movies are about, but I guess I will read them again. Just to kind of refresh, because it's been a few weeks since I've done the unboxing. We're going to go in order of what appears on the side. So the first movie that I watched in this box set, this is kind of the watch order that I did, was just through the spine. First one I watched was Arabella, Black Angel. Beautiful Arabella is an insatiable nymphomaniac with a crippled writer husband, Francesco, who is unable to pleasure her. Instead, Arabella searches for lovers in illicit dens of debauchery, betting an endless array of men. However, when her husband discovers her having sex with a stranger in the shed, Arabella panics and kills the man, only to discover that her sudden act of violence arouses creative inspiration in her Francesco. Covering up the crime, Francesco asks his wife to further explore her sexual fantasies and report back on her experiences. Unfortunately, Arabella's lovers are subsequently visited by someone else, a vengeful murderer who violently castrates them. It goes without saying that this movie was awesome. I really enjoyed this one. This movie is just pure insanity, as I wrote in my notes. The intro starts with Arabella entering a brothel, or a den of debauchery, as the movie calls it. And there's a cross-dresser in the front who asks anyone who wants to enter to pay a price. And they usually let go kind of like the watches or anything valuable. So she gives away something and walks in, and there is so much nudity, male nudity, female nudity, everything. And we get a couple shots of a guy stalking her from like the woods. He watches her go in, and he pays his price to go into the den of debauchery and follows her around in the house with a camera, trying to blackmail her or whatever. And she's just kind of making out with everybody in this den. And at some point, the police showed up, and everyone runs away. And then she runs away too. Runs into a cop who rapes her, while the guy with the camera is watching her. And we then see Arabella having sex with somebody in the shed, that the little description said. And the husband catches her, and she very much takes her time to kill the guy, because on this it says that she does it out of an act of violence or act of spontaneity. And she doesn't really. She sees him watching her, and she's like, lets him finish, the guy who's like kind of having sex with her. And then she kills him, and not the most interesting way, but throughout this movie, it was pure hilarity. I think robots made this, or at least aliens, because I don't think a single human worked on this movie. It is so disconnected. in terms of how a movie works and functions. Uh, it was really bizarre. This one was a whole lot of fun. There's a great score in it, great kills. Um, but this one, everyone says is the best one, and I can see why. Arabella Black Angel is freaking awesome. I really enjoyed it. And one thing I didn't really note in the beginning, I think I noted it in the unboxing, but Vinegar Syndrome called this box set the sex-themed Forgotten Gialli set, and this movie alone proves it. This movie is straight up softcore. It's not full-on pornography. You don't, get your close-ups, but you get everything else. So, this movie definitely lived up to the expectations that I've been hearing. So, I'm going to stick this to the side in order to ready it for the my ranking that I will have at the end of how I rank all these movies. The next movie is, of course, The Sister of Ursula, which I did not mention the year that this movie came out. It was 1989, so the tail end of the Gialli era. This movie, though, Sister of Ursula, came out in 1978. A good year for Giallo. If I recall, never mind. Deep Red did not come out in 1978. Suspiria came out in 77. So really close year to one of the best years of film, in my opinion. But this movie is all about two sisters, Dagmar and Ursula, who are visiting a motel, seaside motel, or estate, and Ursula is a bit weird. She gets visions of deaths and killings, and they go to a nightclub, like early on in the movie, just to kind of establish who everyone is. And throughout the scene, it is as bad as Killer Condom's lip syncing, who Babette, the male to female trans person, is singing in Killer Condom. That lip syncing, I think, is purposely bad because it is a trauma film. I think this one, the actress was actually trying to lip sync and was just so awful. This is another movie made by aliens, in my opinion. Totally weird. I'll go into my feelings about the movie later, but we get a full-on sex scene in this movie. A little bit more spicy than in Arabella, Black Angel, but you still don't see full-on frontal. Well, you see frontal, but you don't see, your action shots of normal porn. But it's close. It's very close. I was really frustrated with both of these movies because, in my mind, because these are Italian giallo films, my head went, why didn't they turn this into a porno giallo? Like, they're right there. Just have some action shots, That's all you need. Like, there's no reason why they couldn't throw in non-matching sex scenes. Just like in Malabimbo. But, I love the kills in this movie. It is so out of nowhere, every single one. Every time someone is killed or about to be killed, we see a giant penis shadow, like, against the wall. And all of our victims go, oh no, don't kill me. And then they get smacked in the face instead. And that's it. Until the final kill, which, when the killer is, before the killer is revealed, they kill one, I think the owner of the seaside estate, and they use the dildo weapon that they have and they shove it up every victim's vagina. And every time it happens, they cut away, except for the last one where they do it and they cut away, not like to a different scene, but they cut away to the reaction shot of the killer, revealing who it is, and then they show it, and it is so bloody down there, is all I'll say. It is really sickening to see that, because I don't want my my area down there to ever receive that kind of blunt force trauma, I guess. But the entire movie is basically the sisters wanting to get away from the seaside estate, but they won't for no reason at all. Literally no reason. All of the characters throughout this movie are like, why haven't you left? You should leave. And then they're like, we are, and they pack up their bags, and then they just don't go. And then they unpack the bags, because they're like, oh, we need clothes. Or I need, my makeup, anything. And then they pack it up again after another murder happens. Like, all these murders are happening around these two sisters. And the entire time, you're just yelling at the TV like, why aren't you going? Go. Get out. And they don't. There's a reason for it. Even saying it right there is probably a spoiler. But I love this movie too. This one was awesome. There's a lot more nudity in this one than in Arabella, and there's even same-sex sex. That was a surprise, to be sure, especially in the 70s. But the owner of the hotel, I wrote this down while I was watching the movie because it kind of tickled me, but the lady who's in charge of this entire estate looks exactly like Daria Nicolodi, who is Dario Argento's wife and frequent collaborator during his movies. And every time she popped up on screen, I was like, can the goblin music come in? But I thought I had my phone on silent. Sorry. But throughout the entire movie, I was like, what's that goblin soundtrack? But the score is pretty good. It's not as good as Arabella, but it's serviceable as a Giallo film. There's a part of the movie, the ending basically begins as one of the men who were kind of having fun with the owner because she's divorcing her husband. Like, kind of in the middle of this, she's just kind of like, oh, I hate you now. I don't love you. I'm going to divorce you. And the husband's like, where did this come from? And she's like, I'm going to go bang everybody. And so she does. And one of them, we get a full-on ass-eating scene in this movie. She, like, the actress is laying on the bed, like, belly down, with her legs up, to her belly. And there's a guy just eating her out. And you get to see his tongue wiggling all around. And I was shocked, again, that this wasn't a porno film and that they didn't go all the way. But after that, we get the reveal of the killer. It is absolutely hilarious and so convoluted. And I was shocked that who the killer was. Because the entire movie, I was like, there's no way it's this person. No way it's this person. And they give the most convoluted explanation ever about why this person is the killer. And then the killer tries to use the shop dildo to kill the last few people still hanging around who are trying to come at them. Pun unintended there. But, of course, the killer dies, because every Giallo film, the killer dies. And this one is absolutely ludicrous. I have no idea what happened. It was so fast, so confusing, didn't know what was going on. And then the movie ends and the credits immediately come up and you're like, what did I just watch? And so this movie is a whole lot of fun. Not as interesting as Arabella, in my opinion, but still pretty awesome. nonsensical, and I mean, there's a lot of nudity. Can't go wrong there. But I think this is the most giallo of the three films, which not to give spoilers to my feelings towards the last movie, but this one's the most giallo-ish. We have the black gloved killer. We have a awesome costume that our killer wears. And so when the reveal happens, you see our character in this outfit, and they look so badass. I loved the costume in this, even better than The Corruption of Chris Miller, which is another giallo film that I really, really like. But, yeah, I really like this movie. I borderline loved it. We're going to move on to the next movie. I'm not going to read the description anymore. I think it kind of grinds down the... I was just about to wonder why this movie had no disc in it. And my Blu-ray player just closed. So the last movie is The Killer Is Still Among Us. It's a giallo movie. It's all about this woman named Christiana, who's a criminology graduate student writing a dissertation on killers. And one of the killers she's focusing on is one that is still at large, that is still killing people in her immediate vicinity, in her town, in her tiny town in Italy. And everybody is telling her, you need to not do this research project. Even the person who, upon first glimpse, knew was the killer, they are like, you need to stop doing this. This is dangerous. And I'm just like, oh, you're the killer. I can see. But this movie is from 1986. So it's kind of the midpoint, kind of when giallo started to go down a bit in terms of quality. Apparently it was based on a true serial killer at the time from the 70s and 80s. But this movie sucked. I did not like this movie at all. The main character of Christiana is so dumb. I could not stand her. She had no chemistry at all with any other character in the movie. She just goes from one scene to the other, just doing what she does, talking about murder, talking about the investigation, working with a professor, and all this stuff. And she starts falling in love with a doctor who does autopsies, and he's the most bizarre person ever. Super sketchy the entire time. I'm reading here on the back. It says the director Camillo Tetti also did Killer Crocodile, which I talked about on the Withering Watchpower episode, talking about animal attack movies, and I talked about how awful that movie was. So 2 for 2 right now on this director, in terms of how bad this movie was. But the beginning of the movie is basically two people having sex in a car, and we get the classic POV shots of the killer kind of stalking them and watching them, and instead of being cool and like using a knife or strangling them or literally anything, he just shoots them through the window, and you're like, okay, sure, whatever. And the scene ends with the killer grabbing a branch, and he's like, the killer is like, wrapping it around the hand or whatever for some reason. And it cuts away. I assume the reveal at the end of the movie about what this killer does with the bodies of the victims. I'm assuming it was kind of foreshadowing for that. But we then get introduced to our graduate student character, who is every graduate student character ever in film. Any dialogue that you can think of by a graduate student character, she says. We get a couple shots during the scene, during the intro scene when she's on the crime scene. I just said scene a lot just now, sorry. But during the part where she's investigating with the police officers, which I don't know why she's a part of that, we get a couple shots of POV. So the killer is there watching our heroine, and I think this is when I lost interest in the movie. Again, this movie was not the best, but it was honestly one of the worst that I've seen in the genre. But I'm looking through my notes because I really don't want to talk about anything else. There's a pretty awesome scene where our main character, just like in Phenomena, discovers an abandoned house, and she's kind of scoping it out because this is where the killer was supposedly at some point of the lives. And she's kind of exploring in this dark, there's no lights on. And blood, she has a bright white shirt on, which I guess sets up kind of why the shot works well. But we start to see blood dropping on her and she doesn't know. At one point it hits her on the face and she's like, oh my god, that's blood. And she looks up and there's an entire fucking body hanging there like on a rope and bleeding from his mouth. And the blood is falling from his mouth into her mouth and she's screaming and blood starts really pouring down from him. And she runs away, and that was probably my favorite part of the movie, just that quick shot. Because it was so ridiculous, and I thought that's when the movie was going to get better, but no. That's the highlight of the movie. But at the end of the movie, there is a seance scene where they're trying to discover who the killer is. And again, this movie is based off a real chain of killings, I guess, in the 70s and 80s. They said on the back of this box that the killer was never found. And I guess that's what the title of the movie alludes to, is that the killer is still among us. But someone, or the guy doing the seance, knows who the killer is, but somehow the killer slashes his throat while they are doing the seance. And she's like, oh no, the killer is still here. And the movie ends and we get a little title card, like credits, of Italian text saying, this movie was made as a warning to kids to not get personally involved with serial killers and investigating them. Let the police handle it. And the movie ends. And you're like, what? What the fuck? And yeah. Oh yeah, there's one part I alluded to about the guy tying his branch around his hand. There's a scene at the end that made me want to, or I did wince in pain quite a few times during the scene, because the killer finds two lovers kind of making out in a tent. He kills them both, of course. And to the woman, he cuts her nipple off with a knife, like grabs her nipple, pulls it, and it's like sawing at her nipple, and takes it off. He has the nipple, and not only does he do that, he also goes to her vagina and like cuts off most of it and just has it with him. And he walks away, and that's the scene. And I was shocked. That movie, or that scene in particular, made me I guess wince pretty intensely in pain, because oh my gosh, I can't handle private parts getting cut, let alone cut off by scissors or with a knife. But yeah, I mean, those two scenes, that ending scene I just described, and the seance, and the woman getting bathed in someone's mouth blood. Those are the only highlights of the movie. I guess it is time to go into the ranking. And then I'll answer the question that I pose every episode in terms of these reviews of Vinegar Syndrome. So my least favorite, of course, is going to be The Killer is Still Among Us. You know why I just described this movie, but this movie was so boring. I did not like it. None of the characters had any chemistry with each other. Our main character was the dumbest person ever I've ever seen in film history. I like the cover. That's really one of few compliments I can give. So that's my number 3 choice, is The Killer is Still Among Us. 2 for 2 for Camilo Tetti, I guess his name is. Yeah, disappointing, but you know, whatever. And I'm trying to decide what. Okay, so this is a really, really close tie, but one does edge out. Just ahead of the other one. My number 2, of course, is Arabella, Black Angel. This one, again, is so nonsensical. I don't know what's going on throughout the entirety of this movie. It's a bit Giallo-ish. It's okay in terms of the Giallo aspects, but everything else is just so funny. I don't know what's going on in this movie. It is absolutely bonkers. It's a shame they didn't turn this movie and the next movie into a porno, because I think they'd be probably one of the best Giallo porno films of all time. Not that there's any competition, because I don't think there are any. But, yeah. Number 2, Arabella, Black Angel. 1978. Or 89. Okay, good. So the movie that won, of course, by process of elimination, it's The Sister of Ursula, the most Giallo of this box set. The most fun in terms of gore, in terms of the killer. The killer was phenomenal in this movie. I love the drug use in this movie. Our characters constantly are taking drugs in order to go to sleep, because the main character of Ursula, she's constantly having visions of people getting murdered. And so she takes drugs and sedatives. Yeah, she takes sedatives and other drugs in order to go to bed to avoid the visions. But this movie has a lot of nudity too, so definitely ticks that box off in terms of how complete this movie is in regards to the theme of the box set, which is sex and also Gialli. It has both of those in copious amounts, so this has to be my number 1. Arabella is right there, really right there, and I remember when I watched Arabella, I was like, nothing could beat this. I watched this, and I was like, no, Arabella is still better. But honestly, when it comes to what this box set signifies, I think this one fits it the most, the best. Sure, Arabella is made by aliens, and this one is maybe made by a similar species of alien, but I just like this one the most. It was the most entertaining. I had a lot of fun with this. So that is number 3, or number 1, I mean. So that is my video. I discussed The Forgotten Gialli Volume 4. Now to pose the question that I do every episode in terms of the Vinegar Syndrome subscription. Would I have bought this if I did not have the subscription? Fuck yeah, I would have bought this. I'm a huge fan of Gialli films. I have every box set of The Forgotten Gialli. I should have grabbed them after watching whatever movie, Killer Still Among Us, but I was really excited to talk about these movies. So yeah, I definitely recommend this box set. I love the Forgotten Gialli box sets. I think number 2 is my second favorite. No, Forgotten Gialli Volume 1 is my second favorite. I haven't finished the third one, And the second one did not have really any good movies in it. There's one in particular that had the buzzsaw that the cover is based off of. But I think aside from that one, the others I just remember nothing from. But yeah, this box set's awesome. Definitely go check it out. And I have one more review for this month's package that I will be working on probably tonight, maybe tomorrow. But thank you all for watching, and please don't forget to leave a comment, like it, and if you haven't already, subscribe. The more people who watch, the more, I guess, attention that this channel can get, and more fun discussions can occur, the more people who are involved in the comments section. So, thank you again. Everyone have a great day.